here with Steve Baczek, who's an architect from Reading, Mass, who specializes in energy, deep energy retrofits and high energy building. So Steve, tell me about where your background and how you got to this point of designing energy efficient homes.
Yeah, so I'll take you in the Wayback Machine, even before I went to college. So I started out working as a framer and electrician, and a young guy, hey, it's nice being out in the sun, framing roofs and doing this stuff, but I was quick to realize that, at age 40, shoveling snow off a shingled roof to replace a roof might not be where I want to end up. So I pursued an alternative approach to stay inside the building industry and went to architecture school. Loved that, came out, worked for a large firm for a little while, realized that commercial architecture wasn't really my bag, and I got the opportunity to take on a job working with Building Science Corporation, who at that time, and still is, at the forefront of building science technology in the country. And I tell everybody that's where I got my master's degree and PhD, although I got paid to do it there instead of paying for it. But there is no better way to get an understanding. I mean, I had the privilege of working with some of the greatest engineering minds that the country has in residential building science, and just sitting there and listening to them talk, or listening to them their phone conversation on a phone was, just information that nobody else is getting. And it was hugely beneficial to who I've become, and taking all of that information and now in my own practice trying to translate it into architecture of my own and trying to get things built right and pass on the message.
Steve, I was at your presentation a couple of days ago, and where you were talking about building above the code level. Okay, so say I'm a builder. I've been building to code all my life. What steps should I take to? What are the first steps I should take?
Well, I guess it's not so much about steps, but if you're a builder building today's world, trying to build above code is kind of twofold. One, it delivers a better product to my homeowners or my clients, but two, it prepares me for the evolvement of the code. I mean, sooner or later, the code is going to evolve and get more strict from the position that it's at now. So why not be, what can I say, ahead of the curve and be prepared for that code to come up? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of little things that you can do as a builder these days that can take your house above code with minimal cost, air sealing, making the right decisions, and making some proper planning steps.
What about a builder's knowledge of what's going on in the area that he happens to be building in?
Yeah, one of the challenges I find is getting people that understand what those next steps are. I mean, part of that is the reason I'm here, is to kind of promote what those next steps are, or what they could be, or when you're faced with this choice, do I choose A or B? And it is a challenge where the industry is certainly moving faster than the ability to gain knowledge. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a big challenge.
So what sort of things should a builder be aware of before he starts embarking on higher levels of?
Well, I mean, there's certainly enough literature out there. There's some fantastic websites. I worked at Building Science for a number of years. Their website is phenomenal in education, that you can go on there and read it for days and days and days and just accumulate a wealth of knowledge there. And there are a lot of industry professionals, and builders are required to get continuing education points, and rather than just servicing that need to get points, really search out some good conferences to get the right education.
One of the things that you talked about was the durability, and almost using that as marketing as opposed to trying to sell comfort and health. And
yeah, so when you look across the spectrum of things that we purchase as consumers, energy efficiency certainly is one. I mean, people buy cars based on miles per gallon, but the people that are out there buying Mercedes, Volvo, Lexus, they're not caring about how many miles per gallon they're getting. They're buying the durability of the product. They're buying the product because of the maintenance package or the service that comes along with that product. They're buying it for other reasons.
One of the things that you talked about in today's presentation was your concept of proportions and continuity, and it's very, very. It's one of the most basic things, but it's a great place for us to start. Can you explain that?
And I'll make that in a trifecta and say, hey, build it worth the effort. So if I'm going to take the time to build something, I need to understand not only where am I building it, but when I put it together, maintaining a certain continuity in craftsmanship, in quality, and performance. So a lot of builders, they say, oh, they'll build a spec house and they'll have details across the spectrum of the house. They'll have crown molding in every room. They'll have all these details. Well, so they understand the proportionate and continuity from a craftsman and aesthetic perspective. What I'm asking them to do is take that perspective and move it in the performance arena. And now say, okay, if I'm going to better my basement and add insulation there, then how can I maybe better my wall insulation? If I'm going to better the wall insulation, do I want to make sure that I have a better window that performs equal to the task of my wall? So as I increase the performance of certain aspects, I want to make sure the rest of the house is catching up.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think that builders have trouble understanding is the different levels of improvement that are possible. Is if you were taking a guy from square one, what would you?
Yeah, and that's a loaded question, because even though I could sit down with a builder and say, okay, you meet with a homeowner and they want to build a code-built house. These are the first 3 steps you should take. And then here's steps 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, 9, and lay out a whole pattern of questions and next step developments. But the issue then becomes, maybe in this climate zone, or because we're by the beach, steps 5 and 6 don't make sense. Maybe 8 and 9 should come to the forefront. So that's where having that education plays a major role in not only understanding where I'm at, but being able to apply these details that make sense, that should be applied, as well as mixing that with the budget. I mean, it's a tough task that builders undergo. It's an extremely tough task. You're dealing with clients, budget, climate, architects, performance. It's a tough one.